What's the condition of the team this year compared to this time last year?
That's a great question. I mean, honestly, I feel like we're in a much better spot this year than we were this time last year. Just physically, mentally, from a team standpoint, the guys being a cohesive unit, all of those pieces are starting to gel together now. We're a long ways from where we came, but still have a long ways to go in order to get where we need to be. But honestly, this time last year, I wish I had a lot more time to get the team prepared for fall camp. And instead, we stand here today pretty happy with what we've been able to accomplish with the last 8 weeks of the summer.
What guys would you say have made the biggest jumps this summer, whether it's conditioning or losing weight or adding weight or whatever stuff you want them to do? Who's made the biggest jumps?
I mean, we can go down the list. I'm extremely proud of our entire roster just for those guys buying in and really taking a hold of Coach Morris's culture, and you see it come alive now. It's not just coming from the coaches, it's actually coming from the players. And, we have a lot of young guys also. And so seeing those older guys take those younger guys under their wing and mold and develop them to what Coach Morris wants from his ball team, But honestly, guys that just stick off the page for me, I would have to start off with T.J. Smith. He's transformed his body tremendously. He's shed a lot of body fat. He looks extremely good right now. And, he's feeling good. He has a motor that he can go for much longer than he was able to go for in the past. Another guy who really stood out and jumped off the page at us is a guy, Chase Harrell, a guy who switched positions for us this past offseason and really embraced that role and challenged himself nutritionally, challenged himself in the weight room, and he's been able to add some good size to his body. He's walking around at 251 right now, and I mean he looks like an action figure. So.
Coach Morris always talks about speed. Do you see a big difference with the guys they brought in and the guys last year? Faster this time around?
Absolutely. Honestly, when you bring in a class like these coaches brought in with this last group, it makes you a much better strength and conditioning coach, I'll tell you that. But these kids, they come in, they can fly. Obviously, the young guys that we got in January, they've been in the program a lot longer. They were able to go through winter off-season training program as well as summer. But, I mean, to see what those guys have done and also the guys that showed up June 1 and what they've been able to accomplish in a shorter window, it's just been amazing at how fast their bodies adapt to the training regimen. And obviously, that starts with mom and dad, just because they did a great job 18 years ago of putting the right genetics in them. And so we're just going to make sure we maximize that as strength coaches.
We could ask this a lot, but
Sorry.
Trey Knox is so electric, obviously 6'5" guy. What can you tell him in terms of the strides he needs to make in terms of the weight room and just speed-wise, agility-wise? The guy obviously really impressed in the spring.
Stay in the course. The guy's had a tremendous go at it since he's been here, since he set foot on campus. Not just physically, but mentally. He's a mature guy to be a 17, 18-year-old kid, essentially, So it's been fun to watch him just train and work and bring energy every day. He's comfortable, within the team and his role in it. And, he's never going to speak up over anybody, but he's always going to speak up when something needs to be said. But just to watch his development, he's gotten faster. He's only about 6 pounds heavier, but of that, it's like 12 pounds of muscle mass he's added since January. But I mean, he's just been fun to watch.
Coach, we get asked by fans a lot about this, but who would you say are like the fastest guys on the team, the strongest guys on the team? I don't know, at the top 5 or just however you want to.
Okay, starting off with fastest guys on the team, obviously, you're well aware of Jordan Jones. That guy can roll now. Another guy who's deceptively fast is Ladarius Bishop. Day Bishop, he's, if not faster, just as fast as Jordan Jones. I would say those are the top 2 right now. And, as far as from a strength standpoint, John Marshall, hands down. He's the strongest human being I've ever been around. So he weight room. So
what about some numbers with the speed, with the two guys you mentioned?
those guys, they move upwards of 23 miles an hour. So we don't necessarily gauge it off of a 40 time just because we don't run 40s in football or whatever, but off of the GPS data that we collect, those guys are up there around 23 miles an hour. So.
With the game adding 15 pounds, are you concerned about him losing some of his quickness?
Absolutely not. He still got a 30-inch vertical and over a 9'6" broad jump. So his explosiveness is still intact because the numbers that he was able to accomplish at 280, he still accomplishes them at 296. And that's one of the biggest things that we will gauge and manage as strength coaches to make sure that the size that guys add or lose actually benefits them on the field. So if a guy puts on some weight and can't handle it, it slows him down, or it causes, I guess, different reactions within his body, whether it be back pain, ankle pain, or whatever, then we reevaluate, okay, maybe that's a little bit too much weight for you. Let's scale it back a little bit, then see how you feel. Because our job is obviously to give the coaches what they want from a performance standpoint, getting these guys prepared for their sport. But honestly, if it makes it to where it hinders their performance, then obviously that's counterproductive and not what we're out to accomplish.
Coach, which player or players have assumed a vocal leadership role in encouraging all the other players?
I mean, there's been a ton of guys step up over the course of the summer and really done a great job of leading. A couple names that come off the top of my head, obviously I mentioned T.J. Smith, Scooter Harris, Grant Morgan, Sosa, again, Bumper Poole, Hayden Henry, Devon McClure, all of the quarterbacks, Davion Warren, Mike Woods, Deion Stewart, Rakeem Boyd, Devwah Whaley, Dalton Wagner, and Ty Clary, just to name a few.
Coach, when you're putting
That's a lot.
You talked about adjusting. We talked to some of the incoming freshmen before they got here, and they knew what they were getting into in terms of something that they weren't used to in the weight room. It's very different from what they were used to in high school. What was the biggest adjustment you saw from those freshmen when they stepped into your room?
I mean, that's a great question. The biggest adjustment that we saw from the freshmen was obviously just learning what the expectations are here at the University of Arkansas. So with that being said, we put them through what we call our new Razorback orientation process, to where we walk them through the culture. So a lot of people think we spend the first couple of days testing and doing all these other things. Nah, we sit them down and make them understand, okay, this is our culture and this is what it looks like. Okay, after that, then we start teaching and testing. And so I would say that was probably the greatest adjustment for them, was how much detail is placed into every single thing that we do. We don't just work just to work, because we all understand that from our team standpoint, it's not what we do that's going to get us there and make us successful, but it's more importantly how we do what we do. So getting them to understand, to inspect what they actually expect. And so I would say that's the greatest challenge, because a lot of them, like I say, they come from well-established high school programs, so a lot of what we taught them, they already knew, but we teach them anyway, the way that we want it done here at Arkansas.
Coach, of all the newcomers, who has impressed you the most?
Of all the newcomers, who's impressed me the most? I mean, honestly, there's quite a few of them that have impressed me. Obviously, Trey Knox was one guy that you hit on. Just him coming in, just that physical presence. There's not a lot you got to do to that guy to get him ready for game day. Just make sure you don't mess him up, you know. But man, a lot of these young linemen, man, Bo Limmer he's a Brahma Bull now. He's putting up some numbers that a lot of our upperclassmen linemen are putting up, coming in as a true freshman. You know, a lot of those young D linemen, man, those guys, they've spent some time in the weight room as well with Enoch and Tarian Carter and Colin Clay and Marcus Miller. I mean, those guys, they're impressive. They're an impressive group to work with. Just to know that we're starting at this level versus year 2 and year 3, you expect to see those kind of numbers from guys. They're walking in the door with them. So.
You speak to the offensive line and how they've done as a group in the offseason.
Oh man, that's one of the closest units on our actual team. They self-police each other. They self-govern one another. You know, Ty Clary and Dalton Wagner, you know, they do an extremely great job of keeping that group in line and in order and in check. So I think that, you know, of a group that I'm, you know, I guess obviously more, I mean, watch how I word this. All right. I'm very happy with how they performed this summer. Just because I know they caught a lot of heat from everybody out there, and you know how we're going to be this year. I think they took that with a grain of salt and used that and worked to prove people wrong. You know, and not necessarily prove people wrong, but prove them right, because they know what they can do.
Coach, with the offensive lineman, you talked a lot about body fat percentage and stuff last year. Is there a specific number that you target for body fat percentage for tackles and guards, or all?
Really, a lot of the time when we base our numbers, we base off of the best actually in the NFL. So as guys transition from college to the NFL, they put out their combine numbers with what their bipods is and all of that. And so we don't have a scale that we necessarily use per se. We gauge it off of that. For our offensive linemen, we want those guys to be upwards of 300 to 315 pounds, but within that 18 to 22% body fat range. We found that the guys that transition from college to the NFL, that elite standard, that's kind of where they fit. So that's kind of where we gauge our numbers off of.
How many of your guys are in that range right now?
We have a few. Obviously, I can't get into too many specifics because, I mean, that I guess goes against some of the policies that they have at Arkansas as far as me giving out specific numbers and as far as body composition is concerned.
So y'all had a day where a Navy SEAL came in and did a day team building thing. Can you speak to that, like how long it lasted, what it was like?
Yes, we had actually the guys from the program came in and spent 2 days, well really 3 days with us here to end the summer. And it was needless to say, one of the most intriguing experiences I've ever been a part of in all my years of coaching. You know, I knew coming in, obviously, kind of what to expect, but it exceeded any expectations that I had on it. Those guys came in and spent 48 hours with our team, and it transformed us mentally. You know, obviously, we train hard and do all those things over the course of the summer to prepare physically, but I feel like that was our next step mentally as far as, you know, bringing guys together. You know, we as coaches, we always say, hey, we need you guys to be better leaders. We need you guys to hold each other accountable. We need you to do all of these things, and we give instruction as far as that's concerned, but what we don't necessarily do is break down and teach what that looks like. How do you hold somebody accountable? How do you become a great leader? And those guys were able to come in and really give real-life examples, put those guys in real-life situations to where they were forced to lead. They were forced to hold each other accountable. And more importantly, they were taught exactly how to do it in adverse situations.
Coach, do you have any specific goals for quarterbacks? And if so, have they reached them yet? Or are they still working on them?
Well, my goal is to just keep them healthy and let them battle it out in camp, you know. So, honestly, they've reached that because, like I said before, all of them have been vocal this summer. All of them have been vocal really since January. That's one position group that's grown, I think, the most since this time last year. Because, I mean, you look up every time we come in on Saturdays or off days, those quarterbacks get guys together, they're throwing, they're catching, they're running routes. And, I mean, that wasn't the case last year. And they're doing, I mean, you almost have to run them out of the facility at times just because you don't want them to overwork themselves. And it's really attributed to the leadership that those guys have taken on in that quarterback room.
Coach Harris and Troy Longberg, how are they doing?
They're doing very well. Scooters, man, he's moving at faster than I've ever seen him. From an agility standpoint, he is like, oh my goodness, he's fun to watch. You know, just because you expect him. Obviously, he's he is the leading SEC tackler. So, but to see him his competitiveness within drill work, you know, it's fun to watch. And Traylon Burke, yeah, foot's 100% back. He's 100% back. Traylon Burke, same thing. I would say that they still make him wear his knee brace when he does certain things, just as a safety precaution. But when he's out there running routes and doing all of that, yeah, he looks really good, really fluid.
What's a standard day and the most normal day, I guess, for these student athletes when they wake up, work out, all that stuff? What is it like?
It's challenging. I tell you what, I don't miss it at all. But they typically wake up about 5:30, you know, and then they'll obviously show up to the facility where Whitney's there, our nutritionist, with the snack cart to give them their pre-workout fuel. And so whether we're running or lifting first that day, they'll obviously get dressed for that. Then we'll have 45 minutes or an hour-long training session that morning. Then they'll leave there, go to breakfast. They have mandatory breakfast. And that's another thing that's brought us closer together as a team. They'll enjoy that breakfast together. Then from there, they'll go to study hall or class, what have you, and go their separate ways. And then so after they're done with that, they'll come back later in the afternoon for 3 o'clock. You know, if we ran that morning, we'll lift that afternoon. So starting at about 3 o'clock, they'll come back for that session, and then we'll have followed by player-led practice, or what we call skills and drills, where those guys, the quarterbacks and the different leaders at each position, will pretty much take them through a player-run practice. And, you know, we did it last year, but it was done with a lot more, I guess, care and attention to detail this year. Those leaders were really comfortable speaking to their group, holding each other accountable, and making sure that they're being productive with their time out there. Then after that, they go their separate ways for dinner and what have you.
Coach, if somebody says freak athlete, what player are we talking about on your team?
Man, honestly, first one to come to mind is John Marshall. He's 304 pounds right now, but like I say, he's got a 33-inch vertical. We maxed him at 650 on the squat, but he's got well more than that. 365 on clean and 450 on bench. So yeah, that's a freak athlete in my opinion. So.
Following up on the guys who were a little dinged up, I think Cheyenne O'Grady missed a little time. Is there anybody else who's going to be limited, like Brito? What's his situation?
I really can't speak to injuries. Obviously, that's more of a question geared towards the athletic trainer, but I can tell you that Cheyenne O'Grady is 100% full go. He didn't need any modifications or any adjustments for the course of the summer. He was able to do everything and look good doing everything.
Jalen Carroll, I know he's coming off knee surgery. I think Chad said he's here and he's looking pretty good. How's he doing in the workouts and stuff?
He's doing phenomenal. He's probably pound for pound that's one of the strongest freshmen to come in that group, just because he came in with some unbelievable numbers also. But he's a guy that's one of those extra work guys that's going to be up there 8 days a week. So honestly, really have to monitor and watch his extra work, make sure he's not running himself in the ground, because it's going to be a long season for the SEC. So.
Time for two more.
Well, Soley was kind of a slender guy when he came here on the Taylor. How does he look?
He's up to 240 right now, so he's added quite a bit of weight, and it looks really good on him. So, but he's a guy that his numbers actually went up. He's up to I want to say like a 33, 34-inch vertical. That was from a 30 when he was at 218 pounds. So he's a guy that, genetically he's very gifted. He's very gifted, but he has the work ethic to match with what his parents already gave him.
What kind of summer has Zach Williams had?
He's had a phenomenal summer also. He's up to over 230 pounds now. So he's a guy that really has put in the work, and he's a guy that has a 35-inch vert. He has the highest vert in the D-line room. So he's extremely explosive. He's impressive. So, and it's just the beginning for him, just because he has if you look at his frame, he's filled out some, but he still has a long way to go before he maximizes what his frame can actually carry. So.
All right, thanks, Chris.
Thank you.